As the world continues the fight against COVID-19, some states in the US are beginning to trickle in some normalcies back to our suddenly crippled economy. With millions out of work, many in the service and retail industry, can the damage be undone? The shopping mall was already in a state of chaos, only now to be dealt a swift uppercut to the financial jaw. Ohio is one of the first states in the US to open its shopping malls, and I wanted to see it firsthand. Let's take a look. Hi everybody, Anthony here with Aces Adventures, and welcome to the Beachwood Place Mall in Beachwood, Ohio, just about 10 miles to the west of Cleveland, so still a Cleveland suburb. This video was recorded on May 13th, so just a couple of days ago, when this video will be airing on the next Friday. And this is something that I debated doing and decided that this is a part of American history. It's really affecting the world, but I wanted to document how it's affecting the US. So I hope that you find this video informative and interesting as we get our first look, or at least one of the first looks, at shopping malls in the US during the coronavirus pandemic. Now, this particular location, the Beachwood Place Mall, has been closed for just about 2 months. This is a location that I have been to before, and as you obviously can tell, this is not a dead mall. But I thought that this would be something that you guys would find interested, be interested in. That is a rather unique snapshot into, like I said, the current state of affairs when it comes to retail in the United States. Obviously, a lot of folks are out of work right now that are in the service industry and retail sector, and my thoughts go out to them. Hopefully they were able to get some form of unemployment or are doing okay in these tough financial and economic times. So this property is in what's considered a very affluent neighborhood. It's a very upscale neighborhood. They have Gucci and Prada and those kind of things in this mall here, but also have some quote-unquote regular retailers and also some unique ones as well, as we pass by this Lolly and Pops candy store, which is awesome. If you are ever in the Cleveland area, I highly suggest that you stop by and check this place out. So I went to this place on the 13th of May. This was the second day after it opened. It opened on the 12th of May. It's about a 2.5 hour drive for me. And first and foremost, I just want you guys to know that I did wear a mask and was maintaining social distancing as much as possible. In the mall here, as you're going to tell, only about 10% of the retailers chose to reopen. Others either have a national policy in place or locally just chose to either open or not open. Most of the national chains were not open. This mall, I'm not sure off the top of my head the total occupancy of it. I can take a look here, but there were only maybe 10 to 15 retailers that were open. So it was a very surreal and unique experience that I want to share with you while going through this property. It was, on one hand, it was, I want to say, a sigh of relief. It was kind of, the brain has, natural tendencies and things that it's used to doing and seeing, and, in our psyche, one of those, or a lot of us anyway, is going to the mall. And being in here and just getting out in general, but more so being in a mall, was on one hand very comforting because it was a reminder of normal life, to be determine what extent of that we're going to have moving forward in this coronavirus and pandemic world that we live in now. This could be a defining moment in our society. This is the first time we've dealt with this, at least in my lifetime. So it'll be interesting to see how the dynamic of malls and life in general is changed. But on the other hand, it was very, I don't want to say unsettling, but a very unfamiliar feeling to be afraid to come in, not so much afraid, but to have some fear of coming in close contact with other people, watching what you touch and whatnot. And these states that are reopening before others are, even albeit in a limited capacity, are going to be the what do I want to say here? Like, the trial and test subjects on what's going to happen in the rest of the country. So I'm praying that everything goes smoothly and we do not have a spike in cases, but we will have to see just exactly what happens. And all that I ask in the comments below, which you guys obviously will comment on this video, just please keep it respectful. I will delete any comments that are disrespectful or hateful towards other folks. I do not want this to be a political background. I just simply want to show you what malls look like during this coronavirus pandemic. So let's please keep it respectful. Thank you. I appreciate that. So this mall is, like I mentioned, very high scale, very upscale. And one of the cool things about it is it has a unique attribute, at least in my opinion, where it does have a very modern look to it, but it also has some very interesting aesthetics with the woodwork up top and the plants and the fountains. So I really do want to give the developers of this mall credit for, the ones that currently own it rather, for updating this mall in a way that still allows for some aesthetic. I've said it before many times, I am of the opinion that malls can be updated and be modern if they're done in the appropriate way. People like colors, people like style, people like design, people like modern things, but they need to be done with some color. As you can tell, this mall has a lot of browns and tans and a lot of natural light, but it also doesn't look white and blah and boring. Blahism, I think, is the word that I invented in the last video. So some of the anchors were open. The Saks Fifth Avenue is open, another high-end retailer. The Dillard's was open, and I did not walk around the whole entire mall. I was trying my best to limit my exposure. I actually did have the coronavirus in early March, and I just went for an antibody test a couple days ago and did come back positive as I suspected. I was around several coworkers that had it, and I myself had loss of taste and smell and some other symptoms that we didn't know were symptoms until much later on. And I was lucky that I didn't really have many effects from it, so I thank the Lord for that. So. But still want to practice social distancing and wear a mask and follow our government's guidelines so we can hopefully get through this very quickly. So a couple other things here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of the property, just even though this is not a dead mall. This is a very active and thriving mall. It will be interesting, I will say, to see how this affects the mall. I know that this mall, even though it is in a rather good area, I did hear some stories of some crime in this area. And actually, when I was pulling up to the property, there was a couple folks that were being arrested. I don't know if that was for shoplifting or what that was. So you've got a very high-end property and you got crime coming into the mix. So we'll see. This mall will be one to watch to see if it starts to decline at all. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch. And also, again, just an opinion piece. I was very surprised to see that only about half of the folks in the mall were wearing masks. As you can see, when I pass by some folks, they do not have theirs on. Personally, I don't think that's very smart, but again, people, this is a free country and you are entitled to your own opinion, and I respect that. I do think if you're going out in public, you should be wearing some sort of mask at least. I know it's annoying, but you're at least protecting yourself and protecting others. So something to keep in mind moving forward, but that's about all I'm going to get into on that. So this mall, like I said, is located in Beachwood, Ohio. It's about 10 miles from downtown Cleveland. It is anchored by a Dillard's, a Nordstrom's, and a Saks Fifth Avenue. The mall was actually developed by the Rouse Company, and the developer insisted over a decade of time and studies and planning to create the upscale fashion center for wealthy people in Cleveland. That's what Wikipedia says, which is kind of a derogatory term if you want my opinion, but that's how it goes sometimes. So this place opened in August of 1978, and when it first opened, it was anchored by Higbee's. It still had a Saks Fifth Avenue, and this claims that at the time it had 110 specialty shops. It was the first Saks Fifth Avenue in Ohio, and Beachwood Place was actually unique in that it had an award-winning design with winding staircases and, like I said, the fountains and all that. And nearby malls like good old-fashioned legendary Randall Park Mall and Severance Town Center were other retail outlets in the area. So in '92, the Higbee's was converted into a Dillard's, and developers began to work on additions to the mall. So just a little bit of history about the mall. In 2004, the Rouse Company was acquired by General Growth Properties, and the new owners began a remodeling that was finished just in time for the '07 season. So it looks like the current aesthetic, as you see it right now, has been around since about 2007. So that's about it, guys. I'm going to let the rest of the video play, and I'm going to do something a little different here. Normally in the Dead Mall videos, which this is not a Dead Mall, but in the Dead Mall videos, I would use some 80s style music to fit the aesthetic of it. So I'm going to try doing some modern style music and have a little fun with that, and just kind of give you guys some natural ambiance to go along with the video. I hope you do enjoy the rest of the tour, and I hope that you are enjoying. This is my second video now with the new Osmo gimbal, or Osmo Pocket gimbal-based camera that I'm using. I really like how steady the shots are becoming with this, and I still use my iPhone for a handful of the shots, but I still really enjoy this purchase that I made to get this camera, and hopefully you guys are enjoying the new steadier footage. Still shooting in my same frame rate, but I'm really happy with how this is looking so far. One more quick thing, as I always mention, please consider becoming a Patreon donor at patreon.com/acesadventures. I have over 70 of you who are patrons now, and my patron donors get exclusive access to videos early. You have the ability to chat with me live. You have certain rewards with certain Patreon tiers with phone calls and whatnot, and other ways to personally interact with me on a one-on-one basis. So check that out if you will. Also, too, I am also planning a massive road trip. I'm going to be doing a cross-country road trip. I am formulating and planning the destinations right now as we speak, and we'll be going on that trip sometime in July, which will be about the 1-year anniversary of the trip I took to Texas last year. So big plans coming for that. Details to come soon. And lastly, make sure you are following me on Instagram and Twitter at AcesAdventures1. That is my official handle, where I post a lot of pictures and interact with you folks there. So please check me out on Instagram and Twitter at AcesAdventures1, and also consider becoming a member of the Dead Malls of Discord server. That is a server where all of your favorite creators, including myself, are on. The only requirement is that you do an identity verification when you join the server, and you must be 16 years of age or older to interact with us on there. So once again, thank you so much for the time. This is Anthony with Aces Adventures. Enjoy the rest of the video, and we'll be back soon with more content. Hello.